This podcast is for women who are already established, women who know they're capable, but can feel the gap between who they truly are and how they've been operating. This is a show about power, identity, and the exact shifts that elevate how you lead, decide, and sell without performing or chasing or molding. I'm Dr. Sonja Adzovic. This is I Have a Story for You. When I was in medicine, working in the hospital, I noticed there were different kinds of female doctors. Across equally competent doctors, there was the first group who constantly had more work added on. So they were so busy. The narrative around her was sort of, just give it to her, she can handle it, she can do it. And these doctors, they were often running around the hospital, doing as much as possible, over-functioning, and had the highest patient load and often the most demanding patients. Now, then there was a second group who had this calm energy. She was just as competent as the first group, but you couldn't really say about her, oh, she's so easy to like, she's so easygoing. So instead, she had this calm level of respect around her. And the narrative around her was, when the going gets tough, when you need a high-level solution, that's who you call. And when there's a complicated patient case, that's who you call, because she handles the situation. You know that when she walks into the room, right, she's in there, she walked in calm, control, poised. And you just know, okay, now we have a handle on the situation. The difference between these two doctors was never their competence, their skill, or their knowledge. It was their perceived value, which stemmed from likability. The first one was seen as, yes, we'll just give her the work and she's awesome. She'll listen to us, we'll go for lunch with her, it'll be great and everything. While the other, she's seen as a power source, a source of calm and respect. And that's the difference between these two likability definitions seen in practice. While this is a slice moment in time, the implications for these two doctors' career trajectory, compensation, and the possibility of being put in leadership roles all stems down to this effect difference in likability. So agreeableness and emotional labor often reduces strategic leverage and competence over time. And this conversation applies whether you are in corporate, in a hospital, building a company, in academia, or leading independently. The structure changes, but the psychological rules don't. So let's go. Why is it so difficult for women not to be likable? There's 3 reasons that it comes down to. First, most women were trained growing up to be nice, be agreeable, don't upset those around you. Oftentimes it was explicitly said, be nice, don't be loud, who are you to speak up, be a good girl, ooh, who's a good girl? While other times women learned this implicitly growing up, when we learned to listen to those around us, to give away our authority to those who know better, as well as to be the emotional stabilizers or support for the people in our life. So implicitly, we learned that being likable means being a smaller version of ourselves so that we are good for everybody else except ourselves. Now, the second reason is there's a vast amount of research showing that being likable increases our chances of being hired and being promoted. Then there's also a vast amount of research showing that people buy from those they know, like, and trust. So this points women in the direction of be more likable. The third reason is that women are penalized if they are not likable.
It's a double standard. While a man might be called strong, the same emotional reaction and control of a situation, a woman might be called a cold-hearted bitch. So, does this previous research apply in equal measure to women as men? No, not necessarily. So, women in high-level positions with aspirations to go even higher are stuck between a rock and a hard place, between being called a cold-hearted bitch and going against all this research that shows the importance of likability, or go with the grain, follow the research, even though they see that being likable is just increasing their workload, increasing emotional labor, and causing overfunctioning without the position or the compensation to match it. Now, how do we reconcile this? Here's where the reconciliation happens. There's a difference between universal likability, being easy to work with, and the likability that is built on respect and inner authority. So my favorite definition of authority is the internal capacity to treat your own perceptions as real enough to go on without external confirmation. So universal likability requires self-adjustment. We take on invisible and visible labor that results in overfunctioning. With invisible labor, we're talking about being the emotional support for others, such as listening to stories about people's neighbors. In this case, you are a confidant and more of a friend. And not only is this taking the invisible labor of listening, you're also taking on the invisible labor of molding yourself to be in the situation where you have to listen, you have to care, and chat about these things to increase likability, whether or not you actually want to, and whether or not this is draining you as the type of person you are. Now, the visible labor is having a higher workload and longer hours. And you might potentially have a higher competence, but you are without access to rooms and spaces where key decisions are being made. That's the visible labor. So you get all this additional work without the benefit of being in these rooms and spaces. Now, with the other kind of likability that's based on inner authority and respect, there is an aura, a halo of respectability, of calm, and a sort of power around her. So you like her too. She is likable, but you just know no one is going to corner her in the kitchen or at the end of a meeting to tell her about what your neighbor did to their hedges over the weekend. That's just not going to happen with this kind of woman and this kind of likability. Now, yes, this is a double standard. For men, being the buddy is often seen as the way forward. This kind of likability, being the one that their boss invites to for drinks after work, the charming, the jokes around the office. It's not like that for a woman. Is it fair? No. But neither is the fact that women do have skills that men will never have. It's on us to stop suppressing them and use them to our advantage. Now, something interesting happens when you withdraw that overfunctioning, the visible and invisible labor. When you pull back your energy, when you stop overfunctioning, when you take back your skill of being the emotional support and stabilizer, your authority shifts from external to internal. And this is a felt difference and one with implications. Now, the internal felt difference is a sense of calm and more energy. And the external felt difference is a sense of power, control, and competence, all of which is felt and perceived by others. The implications are, if you're not constantly overfunctioning, you now have the time, the energy, and the ability to use strategic leverage to be placed in leadership scenarios where you thrive. And that, combined with the external felt differences by others, will enable others to shift and place you in power situations. So your competence level didn't change. Your authority, your perceived strategic and leadership value did. So how do you know the difference? Right now, you're in these scenarios, wherever you are, entrepreneurship, in a corporate structure, in academia, wherever you are. How to know the difference between, are you doing the universal likability or the respect and power likability? And the question to answer is, how are you perceived? Would people describe you as nice or as kind? If it's nice, that's universal likability. Kindness is about being liked in a specific way by specific people that increase your authority, strategic leverage, and competence over time, and compensation over time. While nice makes you pleasant, kind makes you principled. And only one builds authority.